You are your specialty is in early childhood care and development, and you've been outspoken about. I mean, we've got a government daycare plan that's supposed to bring about $10 a day daycare for everybody,
Yes.
but there's not been a real good uptake on it, and it doesn't seem to be working out well for a lot of private providers.
Exactly. So the entire deal is premised on the goal to bring forth a national daycare or childcare system across the country, decreasing childcare costs, increasing accessibility for families, and incentivizing quality through grants. That would be the goals provincially. But what's important to remember is that it's an example of what we call a redistributive policy. It was efficient. We did see a quick turnaround of childcare funding in the hands of families. However, some childcare entrepreneurs who were in the process of building out spaces, signing contracts, getting their fire and health collateral, they arrive at the licensing stage only to be told, you can't no longer be in this childcare deal, when others are going to be receiving affordability grants for their families. So the lack of sector-wide consultation, the lack of transparency in the process has been quite difficult for childcare operators. And as well, we are now subject to a lot of strings that we weren't quite aware of. And so I hope that we can unpack that today together.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm looking at a story, for example, out of Toronto, with only 17% of their licensed daycares have signed up for it so far.
Yes.
But then the people who are regular customers who might be bringing their children back again to these centers, or already, they're starting to ask the operators questions. Well, why am I not paying $10 a day for my care? And 80% of them aren't signed up, and so there's a lack of clarity in the ability to qualify. Is it?
Yes, so I can't speak to the Ontario deal per se. I can speak to what we experienced in Alberta. There seemed to be a rush to get us to sign into this deal, and but there wasn't the transparency of what would this mean down the road for private providers. So here are a few issues with this deal. First is that we are now subject to a control framework that's going to be implemented in 2023. So the government is going to be able to tell us how we can spend the public funding that we are receiving, and through a bit of a cost control framework. We're not really privy yet to what the final framework will be, but we are definitely going to be subject to some control. We also cannot grow organically. So as private operators, the spots available for growth, for expansion, is limited. It's not really clear how many there will be. However, the government is going to be expanding about 42,000 spaces in nonprofit over the next few years, and for profit is not really clear. So if we have organic growth within our communities, demand, we cannot respond to it. And we're already seeing in particular communities, families are being waitlisted. And as private operators, we cannot respond to this need or this demand.
Yeah, I mean, it's to draw a bit of an analogy, and I know it's different province by province, but it seems similar to like when rent controls are applied. I mean, they come to the conclusion people can't afford rent, thus the government's got to get in there and deal with the larger landlords, and we're going to control it. And they'll even say we might subsidize those landlords, but what happens is they mess around in the market, and you actually end up with less rental property available.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter how low the rent is; if there's none available, people are in trouble.
Yes, and the other issue too is there will be inevitably winners and losers, as the government is determining which entrepreneurs are going to expand spaces and in what community when their plans are in place related to the spaces that are allowed to open under the private sector in a given year. This is not equitable. As you can imagine, it will likely drive a lobby industry with the most influential and powerful fighting for spaces, rather than, again, what I speak of, this organic and free enterprise growth, pivoting and reacting to creating spaces and programming based on the needs of families in their community. You're going to see generally a decline of growth of and private capital investment in the sector, and this is really unfortunate. What I think is sad is that the rights, interest, and vocation of entrepreneurs, the years of laboring, service, and sacrifice, the risks that these entrepreneurs took related to capital investment, often against their own personal assets, were certainly not considered in this deal. We needed a deal that actually fought for a win-win solution for all stakeholders in the sector, not just parents, and not mere our inclusion in a deal that comes with significant strings attached, determining how we can run our business in the future. This isn't in keeping with free market and free enterprise or entrepreneurship. We're creating a bit of an inequality in across sector and primarily in a female industry, where as entrepreneurs we're not allowed to grow, or we don't have the capacity for that expansion anymore, or we're going to be significantly restrained in how we operate our businesses. So this is quite an overreach, and the scapegoating of private businesses. We see it in other sectors as well, and I think it's a signpost of what may come across other industries. So we need to look at this more carefully. We can't just be upset because there's a cap on oil and gas and forget to look at, oh, but actually we did cap our private entrepreneurs in childcare. It's quite incongruent. We can't speak of setting up shop abroad and talk about luring or incentivizing business and capital investment in Alberta, and we're capping our own entrepreneurs in the childcare industry. We've always had a mixed model and mixed economy approach. We honor the net benefit that our entrepreneurs are bringing to the economy here in Alberta. So I'm not really quite sure how we can speak of reducing red tape, but then we're implementing regulatory burdens to childcare operators. I don't understand how we can talk about female empowerment, but now we are hampering the empowerment and career advancement and our entrepreneurial endeavors of the many childcare entrepreneurs in the sector. It doesn't quite make sense. We didn't have to sign into this deal at all.
So there's some jurisdictional questions, I guess. Like, this was a federal program, but it was kind of imposed on the provinces. Alberta wasn't really that willing, but basically they were saying, well, either you embrace it or we'll just give the money to somebody else. So it kind of put them into a rock and a hard place. But who do you deal with as an operator in Alberta, for example? Then is it an Alberta government agency for your regulation, or is it a federal one?
Yes, we deal with the Children's Services Ministry. Yes, so it's a provincial jurisdiction. And I contend that we really didn't have to take on this deal. We could have built our own system. We just don't have the political leadership, the innovation in the policy environment, or the political will to actually build our own. We could have seen our families funded 3 years ago already through subsidies or grants that would have allowed them to be paying $10 a day. We didn't need to cede provincial jurisdiction. We have the capacity to build this internally. It will require political will. It will require some work and some creativity, and also this respecting the role of government, the role of civil society, the role of market coming together, and actually understanding social entrepreneurship for answering and coming up with policy inputs that deal with social challenges and complexities in a multifaceted way, not simply constantly, oh, government run program, or make it public, make it universal, because then we will deal with quality issues, or then we will deal with inequality. There are quite a few false premises that belie this whole quest that we also need to be talking about and having public discourse over. Because if we truly want to see change and affordability for families, we need to have a multi-pronged approach that includes markets, civil society, and government, not just government alone.
So are there conditions then? Like, is there certain ways that a facility has to qualify before they can apply or be able to get the funding then? Or is it just kind of as long as you're licensed, you can be part of the program?
When it was originally rolled out, all current licensed programs were able to be included in this grant. Right now, moving forward, only those who are opening spaces under a nonprofit corporate structure are able to open spaces and be licensed. So, or actually, they're able to be under this childcare deal and pass on the subsidies and grants to families. Anybody can open a childcare center in the province currently. It just might mean that they're not going to be part of the deal. And so the daycare across the street might be offering $450 in grants while you have to offer full pricing. So you can already imagine that that competition will be stiff, and families might not choose your location based on the fact that they can't quite get the grants.
So what do you propose as a solution? Like, should the government just kind of back out of this program altogether, or change it? How can this be addressed? That's the big question.
Yes. So I think when we understand the false premises on which this is based, that that quality is a factor of the care that is provided and not necessarily corporate structure. When we are able to understand, for example, that the price point is not high, or childcare costs have not increased because of the for-profit operators entering the market, but pricing is a factor of real estate costs, salaries, and utilities, and food. So it doesn't discriminate regardless of or based on corporate structure, right? So when we begin to understand the premises on which this is based, and we're able to move away from some of these, the foundational framework of women's equality movement, of feminist politics, of social justice, but actually anchor the way that we look at our children, the way that we look at family life, I think we can build a system that is far more holistic and integrative, that considers the ecology, what we call the ecology of children's lives, their nested reality. So their reality within the family, within care structures, their reality within community, where they are interacting intergenerationally, because right now we are seeing a breakdown in intergenerational constellation. So why not build a far more comprehensive system? Why not begin with the answer, what is in the best interest of children, which guides our Alberta family law? Why not ask the question, what is a quality of life look like for our children, rather than simply simplistically, myopically focusing on childcare? Let's place children, create a childcare system for children. How about the entirety of family life, and start there? And so do I believe we can back out? I'm not sure what the clauses are. I'm not sure if the province is able to cancel the deal, but I do believe that Alberta is uniquely positioned in a way, economically, socially, where we can construct something entirely new, something entirely innovative, if we have the leadership, if we have the will to do so. And I think that if we presented something to our communities that looks far more holistic for children's optimal development, that takes care of family life, of children in parenting, in attachments, in in community life, their visibility, that we are caring for those families who truly need the $10 a day or even free daycare because they need this support. When we're looking at immigrant families, when we're looking at refugee families, we have a holistic system, not simply an institutionalizing approach or highly regulating the lives of our children and the lives of those who care for them. That's not the answer. So I'm really confused and surprised that this is the road we actually took, as opposed to saying, no, I think that we have the ability to build our own. Maybe I'm idealistic, but we do need to start with new ideas for all of these complex societal challenges that we are presented with. It cannot be about creating a childcare system. It does not lead necessarily to quality if we are not accounting for what I just had said, is that ecology of childhood, the entirety of children's lives, their communal interaction, intergenerational interaction. So we need to go back to the drawing board and have a greater public discourse about what it means to care for our children and give them a good quality of life. Does it look like institutionalizing them? What could it look like alternatively? And then we start there, and then we absolutely mobilize our financing, our social programs to answer the complexity with which our society finds itself in the care of our children. I hope that makes sense somewhat.
Well, still some. So we're kind of up against the clock now. So where can people find more information on what you're doing and about these programs and things like that in general? Is there a website they could go to?
Right now, I do post my thoughts on meaningmakersglobal.com. I am very much interested in the arts and cultural development of children. So the community can contact me, but I am very much involved in advocacy for childcare operators. I am involved in this leadership contest right now because I do believe that we need new leadership for the future. We cannot simply continue to go to government as the solution for our challenges. And we seem to kind of really want government to be funding everything, government to be providing the solutions, when the solutions are nestled within our daily lives, within our communities, our social structures already. And so I hope that if anybody wants to contact me, they can do so through my website, meaningmakersglobal.com, or contact me through the various connections. I'm sure some people watching already know me, so they're welcome to continue these conversations. Yes. So thank you for this opportunity, Corey.
Great, thank you. And yeah, we'll talk again down the road, and hopefully we can come up with a good policy somehow. It's costing a lot of money.
Oh, for sure. Thank you so much.